Last Christmas, I asked for Dumb and Dumber 2 for my Christmas list, and I expected it to be a decent movie, and I was totally wrong.
Boom shakalaka to all the people that want. Woman them flexing, a man them a chant. Got the 60 style, it have to come back. A draw for your bell bottom, black in a frog. Boom shakalaka, rude boy. You tell them now, son. Wiggle your body, wiggle your belly.
Alright, so let's move on to the first reason why this movie is terrible. The plot. So, Harry finds out that he needs like a new kidney, and then somehow that leads to him finding out he has a daughter. Okay, I don't get it. I mean, is that really the best they can come up with after 20 years? Which also, and also speaking of which, that really enforces, this movie really enforces that Dumb and Dumber should have just been a standalone film. Because, well, it hasn't really had the best, reputation with sequels. And basically, for the rest of the movie, it just tries to do every single thing as the exact same as in the original movie, except none of them they do it, all of them, better in the first one. So, yeah. It's basically the same setup where they're going on a journey. So, yeah. Yeah, and then with the humor, the one thing I have to give it a little bit of credit for is that there was a few times where it made me chuckle a bit, maybe something like this. Something like that. And especially considering that there's just a bunch of running gags that aren't even funny the first time, like when Jim Carrey keeps saying Bond, James Bond. Is that supposed to be humor? Because I don't see how that even is anything related to humor. One of the best things about the original Dumb and Dumber with the humor is how it's laid out, and the humor style. Just the slapstick is great, and the humor is just naturally hilarious. In the sequel, though, they really try to force that humor on you and say "Oh, remember this from the first movie? We're doing it again." And a lot of the so-called humor is just a bunch of sexual references and stuff that just make it really gross and a lot more adult, which isn't always a bad thing, but in here they just did it really horrible, and it's just wow. It's hard to believe that this humor is coming from the same guys who wrote it in the original movie. You know that you screwed up horribly on your humor when the best moment that you've got in the movie is this. And I'm not kidding, this is the funniest moment in the movie. And it's more gross than funny. And also, to quote Hunter Avalon,
I'm seriously debating whether a human or a monkey wrote this story. And so far I'm going with the human, because a monkey could write something better.
So the two ways to describe this story best is, well, the first one is what you just saw in that clip right there, and the second is that it tries to do all the same stuff as the original film, but horribly wrong. So, in the original Dumb and Dumber, Harry and Lloyd, especially Lloyd, did their roles perfectly. In the sequel, that's long gone. So, they're not as the worst acting performances I've seen, but they don't really seem to have the energy that they used to, and you can really tell that they've gotten a lot older since the original film. Which really emulates on the point that that Dumb and Dumber is more made to be a standalone film. So, yeah. And then the rest of the characters, same thing. The recurring ones, the same thing goes with them. They aren't as strong as they were in the original, and have also gotten a lot older. And then the new characters, there aren't really that many besides Harry's daughter, who is a daughter, I guess. That's the most I can really say. So I'll go into this more with the characters, but with the acting, the best way to describe it is it's the strongest point of the movie, but that's not saying much because it's still not that great. It's not really the worst.
Go up, a wine and a go down, a bowl and a rock and two.
Are these characters? I don't think so. So let's start out with Harry and Lloyd, who, like I said, aren't really as energetic and they aren't really as strong as they were in the original film. Like, not even close. So, so Harry is the one who finds out he has a long-lost daughter whose mom is none other than Freda Felcher, which doesn't really make sense to me, considering that I don't even think that they married. A little spoilers, except this, you could probably see this coming from a mile away. He finds out that there was some sort of mistake and the daughter isn't really exactly his. So then Lloyd, he's a lot more mean-spirited in this movie in the way that he has such a vendetta over Harry's daughter for no apparent reason. And then another thing that baffles me about this movie is how they were somehow able to convince a lot of the original cast to come back in the sequel, like Freda Felcher and Billy the Blind Kid, for example. They both make appearances in this movie, which I don't know how. Maybe since Billy the Blind Kid is blind and he didn't see how bad the script is. I don't know, that's the best way I could think of. But I'm not sure. Maybe most of the budget of this movie probably went to convincing the original actors to return. That's my best guess. And then the new characters like Harry's daughter are just really forgettable, and they're just... So, there are other characters, but they're not worth mentioning. In fact, none of them really would be. But it's just important to list some of them. It just baffles me that after 20 years, they couldn't even get a few characters right. Wow! That was a very painful experience. Dumb and Dumber 2 is easily one of the worst movies I've ever seen, and the worst film as of August 19th, the worst film I've ever reviewed. Even worse than Batman v Superman. So, I've never reviewed like a bad film until now, and it's safe to say that Dumb and Dumber should have just been a standalone film, because its sequel record has not been very great. In fact, a lot of people debate whether this film is worse or if the prequel's worse. I haven't seen the prequel, and I don't plan to, unless I somehow get convinced to review it. But one thing I will review at some point is probably the original, and it'll be safe to say that one would be a lot more fun to review. Because this one just has done everything that the original did right horribly. So, yeah, this movie was just awful. It was terrible on every level. Humor may have been okay occasionally, and some of the acting was okay, I guess. It doesn't change the fact that this is just a horrible and disappointing sequel on all levels. This just really proves that Dumb and Dumber should have been a standalone film, and that's what it was built to be. Because the two follow-ups that we got were both terrible, and I don't even know which one's worse. Mostly because I haven't seen the prequel, and I don't plan to. So with that said, if you guys have a film that you want me to review, then comment it below or on one of my other videos, or just talk to me personally if I know you personally, then just let me know, and maybe I'll get to it at some point, and I'll give you a shout out in the end of the video. So I'm gonna do that because this film review was actually a request, so I'm going to put that in the credits that are coming up. So yeah, with that said, this is Magical Ranter 224 signing off. In fact, this film was so bad that even Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels didn't like it. And it's pretty easy to see why they hate this. So, with all the bashing I've done to this film in the review, is it really that bad? Yes. Is there anything good about it? Not really. But at least the title kind of represents how sequels are getting these days. Because most of the time they just seem to keep getting dumb and dumber. Thank you. And keep in mind I did say most, because some sequels this year, like Kung Fu Panda 3 and Finding Dory, were awesome. Anyways, now this is Magical Ranter 224 signing off.
I told you no style around, are you feeling it? Are you feeling it? I do that boom shakalaka to that